What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to your first time here. You know, for decades we've heard about the New World Order, the one world globalist government, and there's been people definitely trying to put that infrastructure in place so they could dominate the world from afar, dominate the whole world from their little base like some evil villain in a cartoon or something like that. And we've heard the news media talk about this before. We've heard former presidents talk about this before. And we've seen a big push for that here recently. The Agenda 2020, 2030, it's a big push for this globalist New World Order system. One world currency, one world government, that was the plan. However, I don't think it's going to work. We're going to see a New World Order, but it's going to be a New World Reorder, with the central power structure being centered in China. The United States has been a dominating superpower for decades. Since World War II, we've dominated the world with the United States military and the dollar. We've exported our inflation. We've had our dollar backed by oil. Other nations weren't allowed to sell, oil, anything besides the U.S. dollar. And that's how it kept its value and allowed the United States to keep spending. And if a country tried to get off the dollar, the United States military would go in and destroy that country. They would say that they had weapons of mass destruction, they had genocide happening or whatnot, whatever. They were a threat to our democracy here in the United States somehow. And they would send the United States military in to overthrow that dictator, that leader, that president, and put their own puppet leader in. Back on the dollar, everything went. So every nation knew not to get off the dollar, to use their dollar to bide their time and just use it the best they could and try to stay out of the way of the United States. Because even if they didn't, they'd end up like Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi, dead. That's what they knew. However, these other nations started figuring out, we have got to get off this system. We have got to get off this dollar, United States dominated system. China, Russia said, we have to get off this system. China says, got to get off this system or we're going to never be the dominating superpower in the world. And that's the goal of China, to be the dominating superpower. And that's why that's why we're seeing the implementation of this BRICS system. And, everyone was using the SWIFT system also as far as international trading goes, electronic trading system. And China and Russia and the BRICS nations, they started using something else. I can't think what that was called, guys. Sorry. In the comments below what that's called, the system they started using to replace the SWIFT system we use here in the United States. But I saw just a few days ago, I think it was yesterday, I've been doing so much stuff here, it's hard to keep my mind around everything. But I saw yesterday, I think it was, that France was now wanting to join with China and the BRICS. China's at the top with the BRICS nations, just like the United States is at the top of NATO. And even France, Macron, supposed to have been an ally of the United States, is wanting to join BRICS, wanting to partner up with China. Well, you've seen Saudi Arabia, and that pretty much dealt a death blow to the United States dollar when Saudi Arabia said to the United States, so we're going to start selling our oil in other currencies, and we don't care what you think about it, United States. They see the United States as weak. The United States has our focus on transgender and transhumanism and trans this or trans that, and this woke agenda, and everyone's, oh God, and not worried about anything that's actually important. And it's all on purpose, to keep everyone's mind on this over here, because they don't want you to know that the world is being reordered. The world power structure is being reordered. The United States isn't going to be the top dominating superpower any longer. That is quickly going to China. NATO isn't going to be the world's dominating political system that ties nations together. That's going to be the BRICS nations. The United States and NATO isn't going to like it a bit. They're not liking it a bit now. And it's happening. They know it's happening. And the only option the United States has is going to war. The only option NATO has, keeping their position with the United States at the top, is going to war. Now, this could be all planned by the globalists. This new world reordering, I don't know. But we see it's happening very, very rapidly. I mean, it has moved on the last year. I mean, it's been quick, very, very quick. The United States has pretty much alienated every other nation on earth, even our allies. You look at what happened to Nord Stream. We know when that Nord Stream pipeline blew, I came on here within 6 hours. I made a video telling you all exactly who did it. Some people said, no way, it was Russia did it, Russia did it. Now more and more evidence has came out of who actually blew that up. We know who blew that up. I knew it to start. I looked at who it's going to benefit. But it also was a direct or an indirect attack, but it's still a direct attack as far as the economy goes and on the people in Germany and some of the European nations that get all their natural gas from Russia. The United States has alienated most of the world. Even people who claim to be our allies secretly despised the United States. And people watching these videos, like you or me here talking, we had nothing to do with none of this crap. However, these other nations blame us as a whole. They don't say the government did it. They say America. America is evil. America is the great Satan. And they want to get away from us as far as possible. And they want to get off that dollar-dominated system. And that's why China has been building the military up. That's why they're gathering together. That's why they're getting on a different financial system, because the United States always levied sanctions, United States and NATO always levied sanctions against other nations to get those other nations to bend to our will. The United States, as a global dominating empire, is falling, or already has fallen, very, very rapidly. That we aren't seeing the ramifications of that yet, but it's going to get much, much worse, unfortunately. I think that, some people will say it's a good thing. We don't need to be dominating superpower anyways. And I agree, we should have minded our own business a long time ago. We should have stayed on the gold standard a long time ago, and I never got off of it. We should have had more responsible spending by the federal government, state governments, and individuals. Less debt. We should have been more production here in the United States. We should have focused all of our attention on our own borders. Haven't done any of that. The United States government has done things that any sane government, a government that actually wants to build their own country up, that wasn't actually an enemy within, we've seen them do things that distort the country. And I don't think it's just complete ignorance. I think it's a lot of people behind the scenes has wanted this change, this global power structure reordering, and we're definitely seeing it now. And it's definitely going to affect the dollar. Glenn Beck says that this is going to cause the United States to look like Venezuela, and it definitely could, because the dollar is dying. That's what's happening. The dollar is dying. And these other nations, if the United States decides to go to war with China, and they'll say it's over Taiwan, but it's actually over the fact that they're losing the dominating superpower status around the world. If we go to war with China, you look at all the stuff that's manufactured in China and these BRICS nations. They may put sanctions against us. The United States makes very little. I mean, you go through your house right now and you look at everything you have, most of it's made in China. And if it wasn't made in China, it's made somewhere besides the United States. Very little is made here in the United States. This hat, Smith & Wesson, was made in China. It's got a tag inside that says made in China. But everything is made in China or put together with parts that comes from China or Taiwan or some of these other countries. I mean, it's going to be a mess, guys. People have no idea what it's going to be. If you have hyperinflation and you also have fewer goods coming in, that is a perfect combination for Venezuela. If you have more cash chasing fewer and fewer goods, that's hyperinflation. And according to Glenn Beck, we're going to be looking like Venezuela. Venezuela with a more over-oppressive government. And they will take their anger out on the United States citizens, I think. We see that now, especially if it's the left is in power like now, and they lose their dominating superpower status. They see themselves crumbling. They see themselves losing power. They'll lash out against Christians, conservatives. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? But I do know more inflation, quite possibly hyperinflation, quite possibly World War III. I don't think that China is going to start World War III by attacking the United States directly. They don't want that. They're winning now, so why should they? But the United States, more than likely, will be the one who attacks or has a false flag attack on the United States and blames China for it, so they have an excuse to go to war. Because they know that's the only chance they have of regaining their dominating superpower status and holding that power hegemony around the world. Inflation is definitely coming. The crisis of the dollar is coming. We see now inflation already, but when it happens, it's going to be hyperinflation like Venezuela. And life here will resemble that in Venezuela, where people are pretty much starving, losing weight. I've read articles of people actually eating their pets, their dogs and things like that, catching stray dogs and eating those because they were hungry, they were starving. That's Venezuela. I don't know how bad it's going to get here. Hopefully it doesn't get that bad. But at the very best we can hope for, I think, is probably being like Mexico, besides with a larger, more oppressive government. You know, Mexico's government is fairly small compared to the United States. Our government is huge. However, it kind of brings the question, how is the government going to pay to keep the government so large, keep all their employees, keep everything going? It's a puzzle what's going to actually happen. But anyway you look at this, it's not going to turn out good for the United States. We're going to be living at a much lower standard of living here in the U.S. We're going to be dominated, more than likely, by the BRICS nations. The United States doesn't do what they want. They may sanction the United States like we have everyone else. A little payback, Who knows what's going to happen exactly? I don't think anyone actually knows because it's never happened before. But I do know that the key is to decentralize as much as possible and to prep as much as possible. Decentralize your food production, meaning it don't come from the grocery store. It comes from your own garden, your own chickens, your own rabbits, your own goats, sheep, cattle, whatever you want to raise on your property and have the room for. Your food should come from there, or at least locally. Invest in barter items, gold, silver, firearms, ammunition. Get to know your neighbors, work together for community defense. Stockpile everything you think you're going to need and might not be able to get. And hold on, it's going to be a heck of a ride in my opinion, guys. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. And the Creekmore Matter, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.